Hi everyone, this is Beth Rogan from the Marketing and Communications Department here at William James College to welcome you to becoming a school psychologist and your journey to a dynamic and rewarding career, which in fact it is. So thank you very much for taking your time during your lunch hour to join us today. I'm really excited about this program. We have wonderful presenters who are experts in the field, and we will sort of be introducing them shortly. As the host, I will be really just providing a little bit of an overview about William James College and also sort of managing the questions. And this is the point where I say questions are always welcome. This is a live webinar. You're able to ask questions. So it's really your webinar. Make it that, please. So with that, we'll move on to our next slide. And I am just going to quickly introduce our presenters. They will introduce themselves as well. And we are very, very happy to have Dr. Miriam Thompson, who is an assistant professor in our school psychology department, as our main presenter on school psychology, the profession and training. So thank you, Dr. Thompson, for joining us today. And Mario Murga is the director of admissions here at William James College. So it's wonderful that he is on today to be able to talk about things to consider when you're planning to apply to graduate school or thinking about graduate school, and then more specifically applying to William James College. And again, I'm Beth Rogan and the Associate Director of Marketing and Outreach. So we'll now move on, please, to the next slide. And as you can see, this is the facade of William James College, our beautiful state-of-the-art building, and we're located in Newton, Massachusetts. And if you're not local, we are about 15 minutes in non-rush hour traffic. That's sort of a disclaimer to downtown Boston. We're in a great location. We have free parking, plenty of it. We're off major highways and byways for students coming and going. And we're located in an area where there's so many field placement sites around and activities that really are something that our students enjoy in the area that we are. So it's great. But this is where I'd love to say, think about coming and connecting with us, whether that is meeting professors, meeting students, and obviously meeting our admissions staff. Keep connected because it's really the culture inside the building. It's the amazing education that happens here and our amazing professors and students. So I've been working at William James College for 12 years now, and I just every day am thankful for the colleagues that I have here and the students that I work with. It's an amazing community. Okay, so we will move on now, please. So this is the overview that I wanted to just let you know in the next slide or two. And so this is this really represents the programs that we have here and the many centers of excellence where we're providing so many different services. So I'm not going to talk about school psychology except for the fact that in addition to our MA CAGS program, we do have ABA behavior analysis, applied behavior analysis in both an online and on-campus program. And we also, in addition to the school psychology department, you can see we have a clinical psychology department where we offer a doctoral degree in clinical psychology, counseling, master's in clinical mental health counseling, online and on-site, in campus, as well as a online master's in psychology, organizational and leadership psychology. That department works with our students and faculty work within businesses to look at how they can apply theory of psychology to make very positive changes. And we also have a undergraduate program. It's a completion program for psychology and human services for those who have about the equivalent of a associate's degree. And as the centers of excellence, you can see there's just a lot of work happening with direct services, academic work, research, advocacy, and so on. So very, very dynamic school of psychology and behavioral health that we offer here at William James College. Next slide, please. So very important for anyone who's considering a culture and a school of higher ed is, what do you stand for? Well, our core values here at William James College, we're really, really very proud of them, and we feel like we walk the walk. Experiential education is something that we really feel like our model sets us apart, and you'll hear much more about that. Dr. Thompson will be talking about that with the school psychology department, but our students start very early on, really in the first week in their field ed, as well as their coursework. They have a seminar course that really bridges the two. So you're applying what you're learning every single day in the classroom at your field site. And in terms of social responsibility, it really is a key to our mission here. We look to see how we can meet the needs and make a difference. And that is, those are pretty powerful words. We look at how we can serve underserved populations, children and families, and how we can really, as a community, talk about making a difference and breaking down barriers that relate to mental health, wellness, and behavior health. So you'll hear and you'll feel more about that, I'm sure, as we move forward. And in terms of personal growth, at William James College, our practitioners, our professors are a practitioner professors. So they have actually practiced, they are practicing, they're doing the work, they have experience, they have such expertise, and that is something that you'll benefit from so much. And as well as that, the professors, and in terms of advising, it's about a 1 to 12 ratio. So you are very well known. You are well known by your professors, your cohort, and it's something that in the school psychology department, as well as throughout the college, there is a wonderful culture of learning and expression and camaraderie, and you'll hear more about that. So it's something that we're very, very proud of and work very, very hard every day to make sure that our students grow and learn and do the best that they can in the various field that they're working in. So moving on to our next slide, we talked about social justice. It's really important for us to talk about our commitment to diversity, inclusion, and intercultural understanding. Is something that is very, very important to us at William James College. You can see all the bullets that it really permeates with us here, certainly in academics and in coursework, in field placement, in our advocacy. And it's something that we talk about and are talking about now very, very, very much because it's important to us and we want to see a positive change through the future as we are now looking to do that. So commitment to diversity, inclusion, social culture, social justice, and intercultural understanding, something that's very, very important to us, and it's something that we know we work on and talk about every day. So thank you, and I'm now going to present the slide that shows our questions and where to ask questions. Please do that in the question box. Your questions are very important. It helps engage the conversation. Also, the PowerPoint is available in your handout section. Feel free to download that so you don't have to take so many notes. And we'll move forward now to Dr. Miriam Thompson.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Ms. Rogan. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Dr. Miriam Thompson. I'm an assistant professor in the school psychology department at William James College. Prior to my journey here, I was engaged in postdoctoral training. I completed my first postdoctoral fellowship at William James College in the neurodevelopmental assessment of young children at the Brenner Center. Following that, I completed another postdoctoral fellowship at the Boston Juvenile Court Clinic, conducting court-ordered evaluations that were mandated by the judge on children and families who required intervention from the juvenile justice system to figure out what's going on as it relates to their mental health, why a parent is having difficulty rearing their children. And that just kind of gives you an idea as to the multifaceted aspect of the profession of school psychology. You're not just limited to the schools. You're able to kind of acquiesce into any any field and profession. And so why I love the field, well, it's the flexibility, how dynamic it is. I'm able to, be like a chameleon in so many ways, wear multiple hats. It's multifaceted in so many ways. I'm not just limited to testing and administering a broad range of assessments, but I'm engaged in, intervention and collaborative consultation with teachers and professionals. And why I was drawn to William James College, I wanted to really play a hands-on role with the students. I love the relational aspect. Not only are we known for our, intellectual rigor and, a strong training emphasis, but we really work closely with students to ensure that they're able to develop the competencies that they need to be successful in the field. And so we really see our students to the end, and we're there guiding them along the way. And so you really get that hands-on experience that you would likely be denied at other, larger colleges and universities. We're really, closely invested in our students, and making sure, again, that they develop the competencies and skills and burgeoning skill set that they need to be successful in the field. And so I'll go to the next slide here. So these are just, pictures of us at, different events. And I can tell you that, within your first year, you kind of hit the ground running. And the photo in the middle is where I'm situated. That was actually, orientation day. And so we are really kind of, very close-knit, very collegial, group of individuals. So we can go on to the next slide. So thinking about grad school, you might want to think about, what do you want for yourself? What do you want in a career? And do you want to be involved in making important high stakes decisions? And so, and that's what school psychology, this profession, would afford you. You'll be working closely, not only with children and families, but in being engaged in collaborative consultation with teachers and principals. And, really looking at an interdisciplinary aspect as well, by working with social workers, speech language pathologists, occupational therapists. This career will allow you to truly make a meaningful, positive impact in the lives of children and families, which is really what is needed right now. And we can go on to the next slide. And again, to kind of continue on with that same thought, think about, again, what are you looking for in a profession? The field of school psychology boasts a lot of job openings. It's widely known that there is a national shortage of school psychologists, so there's a lot of job openings. You really need people to be entering this field. There's diverse roles and responsibilities, excellent salary and benefits, significant job flexibility, stability, you have the summers off. So these are excellent qualities that make this field appealing to applicants. And we can go, I'll go on to the next slide. So with that in mind, you might be thinking school psychology might actually be the career for me. And so the role of the school psychologist. So allow me to break that down a bit for you. So we're most known for our engagement in assessment. And that is indeed true. We do administer a lot of tests, and we, administer a broad array of testing batteries, but we're also known for engaging in engaging consultation with parents, teachers, different administrators. We're focused on prevention, so preventing issues from developing before they even start. Intervention, when an issue presents itself, we figure out how to remediate it, how to resolve it. Mental health, so counseling, advocacy. We are indeed social justice advocates, which is what Ms. Beth Rogan stated earlier, which is what William James is committed to. Psychoeducation, and definitely research and program development as well. And then on the next slide, so you might be thinking, how do I start this, enter this path? So, and how long does this training experience take? So it'll take you 3 years. So think of it as a robust, it's more than a master's. You earn a CAGS, which is equivalent to an EDS. And so what a CAGS stands for is, certificate of advanced graduate study, which is similar to a specialist of education. And this allows you to become a licensed educational psychologist and a nationally certified school psychologist. So you will indeed have the title school psychologist. And that will really just support your credibility as a professional. And you can work in private practice. You're not just limited to working in K through 12 public school education. Being a licensed educational psychologist allows you to work in private practice, which is indeed a unique aspect of this field and this profession. And in the next slide, this is a beautiful, handout that was created by our marketing department that really just illustrates all of the dynamic aspects of this field. And it's an excellent career choice because you're able to beautifully balance responsibilities, social interaction, that interpersonal piece in your career. These are the hallmarks of this profession. So you're able to engage in assessment, consultation, and counseling, like I stated. In our program, you'll receive breadth and depth and training. So the scope is broad, but we are able to really allow you to foster your development in, various skill sets. And interestingly enough, we are ranked as the #2 best social services job in the US. And just to underscore this fact one more time for you all is that there are many job openings right now. So we are in need for individuals to fill these roles. And on the next slide, I will talk to you about, here we are, about what exactly is entailed in our graduate program. So we boast NASP approval. It takes 3 years. Your first 2 years are coursework, and then your final year, you'll be completing an internship at a site. So that amounts to 66 credit hours. And within your first year, you will receive your master's degree. You have an opportunity to earn a master's in ABA. And then, of course, there's another opportunity to earn a graduate certificate in school climate. So in the next slide, why should you consider pursuing school psychology at William James College? We are committed to experiential learning, and that means you learn by doing. So there's a powerful integration of coursework and application, and that's really the best way to learn is you learn by doing it, practicing it, applying it in the field. We as faculty, not only are we, excellent teachers, but we're experienced practitioners. I have a lot of training in neurodevelopmental assessment, and then similarly related in the juvenile court clinic as well, which just shows you how dynamic this field is. It's important to mention that we are focused on students and community engagement. And again, we are approved by our accrediting body, which is the National Association of School Psychologists. And then on the next slide, I'll tell you what the community, the William James community is like. We are heavily focused on the practice of school psychology, and that's what really distinguishes us from other colleges and universities. Our focus, our bread and butter is the professional practice of school psychology. We, provide a very supportive, collaborative learning environment. We are committed to, students becoming, developing a robust, long career. And there's a number of college-wide concentrations that you can elect to pursue. Children and Families of Adversity and Resilience, known as CFAR, Global Mental Health, Latino Mental Health, Asian mental health, and African and Caribbean mental health. So you have the opportunity to take additional courses and obtain a more specialized skill set. On the following slide, I'll tell you about a little bit more about the school psychology community here at William James College. First, in the clinical seminars, we make sure that those classes are small. So there'll be about 10 students or less. We have an excellent advising system. I have about 12 advisees, and so we make sure that the number of advisees that each faculty member has is no more than that ratio, 1 to 12, because we want to have, a small faculty to student ratio. So we're able to really play a hands-on role and make sure that we guide students through this program. We have a number of departmental events, which is fun and exciting. There are also student leaders who are representatives for each department, known as ACEs. And again, we are just a whole bunch of, faculty. We're engaged, we're happy, and we're really just lucky to be in this field. We're indeed collaborative, as you can see by the photos here. On the next slide is a book that we that we are proud of, and a number of faculty in the department collaborated on this book. And we just talk about, different strategies that not only school psychologists can implement, but it gives parents and families an idea of, what the experiences of, individuals who receive school psychological services, how they're able to benefit from it, and just different, stories and anecdotes, anecdotal experiences from the field that our faculty have put into writing for you all to learn from. So that book is available for you all to view on our website as well. So if you're at home, think of, so on the next slide, I just want to talk about, what it's like to be a practicing school psychologist. Well, one thing is that we have our annual Field Supervision Institute, which actually is going on right now. I believe it occurred just this past week. There's opportunities for clinical supervision groups. There is a school psychology, training, as well as NASP, which stands for the Massachusetts School Psychological Association. So there's different professional groups that allow you to, continue developing your clinical acumen while you're in the program and once you, earn your degree. On the next slide, and here I am featured with my colleague, Dr. Robin Bradica. We both, became faculty together our first year. We're really focused on mental health and prevention. And underneath that, I want to underscore that our focus is on academic success and, fostering, personal well-being in the students that we serve. And I just want to say that we are uniquely adept at, providing mental health services to children, and students, because we're in the schools, and that's where children spend most of their time, is in the schools. And so again, unlike any other, profession, we're uniquely adept to provide these services to students because, after the home, children spend most of their time in schools. On the next slide, I'm going to go over our field education experiences. So you really hit the ground running your first year, but we're there supporting you along the way. So the first semester of your first year, you're placed at an elementary school 1.5 days per week, and you're really just kind of getting acquainted to the role of a school psychologist. The next year, your time in this school is increased to 2.5 days per week. And there you're able to really engage in a bit more practice. You're still learning a lot, but you're increasing your comfort level as well. And then year 3, you're full-time and you'll be completing a 1,200-hour CAGS internship. And that's a final culminating experience, kind of a significant milestone in your graduate education, which is important. On the next slide is primary project, which is a really unique and special, aspect of our training program. So in primary project, you'll be working with children, and it's an evidence-based preventative mental health program where children lead their own play and they express themselves in that manner. And it's weekly, and where you come in is that you'll learn and practice basic counseling skills. You'll gain insight into early childhood development, and you'll be able to include this on your resume. For your first year, on the next slide, we can go over coursework. So in the fall semester of your first year, these are the courses you'll be taking, and you'll be taking instructional assessment and intervention, statistics, lifespan, another course entitled Educating Children and Adolescents with Special Needs, And then the spring semester, you'll be taking another assessment course, behavioral assessment as well, psychopathology, research and evaluation methods. And then as well, you have your practicum experiences, your fall and spring semester. And then in summer, you'll be taking 2 courses. And so it's indeed, you really do hit the ground running with respect to what the coursework you're exposed to, but you also have a break as well. You do have a portion of the summer off. And so the accelerated nature, really does, allow you to, gain an excellent skill set. On the next slide, I want to state that we're not all just, work and no play. We do make sure that we engage, promote student wellness and student happiness. There are a number of affinity groups that we have, the Rainbow Alliance, African, Latino, Asian Native, and Arab American, known as Alana, Social Justice Student Coalition. There's also yoga classes, a lot of community time, and brown bag conversations, which usually take place during the lunch hour. And we'll just, oftentimes the Dean of Students will present a topic to discuss, and we'll all join together during lunchtime to discuss this topic. So on the next slide, let's see. Are there any questions?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Dr. Thompson. There's a few questions. And so one of the questions is, what is the difference, if you can kind of elaborate a little bit, between a school adjustment counselor and school psychologist, and like maybe just a school counselor and school psychologist? How is that role a little different?
So for the main difference between a school adjustment counselor and a school psychologist, and I can start with the training experiences. And so a school adjustment counselor, they're obtaining, it's a 2-year degree, whereas a school psychologist, it's a 3-year degree. And a school adjustment counselor, they're not administering assessments. They're not as engaged in intervention to the extent that we are. And so they're primarily focused on student well-being, whereas for school psychologists, it's significantly more broad in the scope. We're interested in, prevention, consultation, educational interventions to, diagnose the student's problem. We're engaged in development of individual education plans, so IEPs. We work closely with special education teachers to diagnose a problem, and we play a role in placing students in special education. Whereas again, I think a school counselor, school adjustment counselor is more so focused on just, supporting students as they navigate their way through school.
Great, thank you. I think that's something that we hear questions around that often.
A lot.
Yeah, and then can you talk a little bit about the field placement and how students get placed in field placement and the support around that?
Yeah, so Dr. Alana Walkoff is an associate professor of field, associate professor, and she's also the associate director of field education. And so what will happen is she'll get in touch with you. You all will coordinate a location based upon where you live. She'll figure out a school that is best commensurate with your interests, your field interests, as well as your location. So if you live in Brockton, she'll try to find a field placement that's in or near that area. And she'll also do her best to figure out how commensurate is this with your interests.
Great. So it sounds like there's a lot of support in the sites that are available and the consultation around that and interviewing and so on and so forth. Oh, that's great. I know that we do have a very extensive field education department, and that, often we hear from some students that, other places that they've either as an undergrad or even in the grad situation, they've sort of been given a list and you kind of go on your own and do your own sort of search, where this is not the case here. We have a lot of relationships that have already been established for quite a while and continue to be established at various schools. that
Yes.
we work with. So that's where I think we really have a lot of support for students around that, which I really think is great. And this is where I really want to encourage more questions. Please feel free to ask questions. There's nothing is, oh, good, we have one right here from Christina. What do school psychologists need to complete in order to administer tests in the field? In this program, would a student be able to administer tests after 3 years, or is more study needed?
Okay, so the question is, what type of training is needed in order for a school psychologist to administer tests in the field?
Mm-hmm.
I'll answer your question in two parts. So first, when you're in the program, you'll gain a lot of opportunities to practice a test administration under our supervision. And I teach the assessment courses. And so you'll be able to practice test administration in the field under the supervision of your school-based supervisor. And that'll occur actually within your first year. So you really do hit the ground running with our support. After completing the program, and that's after 3 years, you will be able to independently, autonomously administer assessments because you will have completed our robust training program and you will be prepared to go ahead and do so. So I
Great.
hope that answers the question.
Great. Okay,
Okay.
so that's, we'll have another slide later on for questions, and so please feel free to continue to ask and put your questions in the question box. And at this point, I'd like to ask if you would just participate in this poll so we know exactly how to really gauge the conversation with you all. You plan to start graduate school. When would you plan to start graduate school? So would that be, I've already applied for fall 220, you're likely to apply for fall 220, and you're unsure about your enrollment plans at this time. And then we'll share this with everyone. So if you could just take a minute to do that, that would be great. Okay. All right. So I'd like to apply for the fall 220, 33% of you, about a third. Excellent, and you're unsure about your enrollment plans at this time. Great, and we hope that this helps you to inform you a little bit more, and maybe this is the beginning of your journey, and we're glad we're able to provide some information for you, for that group. Thank you so much, everyone. This is very helpful. Okay, we can move on to the next slide, please, Mario. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Mario Murga.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mario Murga. As Beth mentioned, I'm Director of Admissions here at William James and also the International Student Advisor, should we have possible international students in the audience today. So I'm here to tell you, how does one become a member of this community as a student? First of all, and it's wonderful that we had this poll right previous to my slides, in that knowing that fall 2020 is still a possibility. I do encourage you, if you haven't opened an application, to do that very, very soon. If you have done that and you're completing your application, please reach out to us, and we want to make sure that you have all the supports necessary to submit as soon as possible to be considered for fall. The fall semester does not begin in September, it actually begins in August. And orientation is the week of August 17th. So we want to make sure that you're in good footing. The online application is very convenient at William James. You will see in many pages of our website links to it, and it's very easy to remember, www.williamjames.edu/apply. And if you have saved this presentation, the PDF presentation, you will be able to go back to this again and again. And when you're ready, you can make use of this information for sure. So everybody applying to this program, the School Psychology MA CAGS program, needs to have a completed bachelor's degree from an accredited institution. And we'd like to see a GPA at 3.0. So most likely you have done your research, and this is already of your knowledge. Most of the elements of the application will be contained within the online option that we give you through the application, including the 3 letters of recommendation. So as you are working through your application, you can have your recommenders do their part. In other words, you do not need to have submitted the application from them to start their part and even completing it before you submit it. So you will reach at any time, once you have created your account, the module for recommenders, and you enter the pertinent data, as you may have done this for undergraduate before, for each of your recommenders, and the system on its own will send an email to these people telling them that you would like for them to fill out a recommendation on your behalf. There are a number of questions that they are required to answer, and optionally, there is a letter that they can upload, okay? More and more, I see through the years, recommenders see the necessity now to also upload a letter. And so if you have influence over them, I do encourage you to ask them to do so if they can, okay? And they do that all online. There are good instructions there. They will be given a password and a login that they can use, and they do not need to complete it in one sitting. The beauty about our online application is that without having submitted your whole application, you can return to the applications as you can to most companies that offer applications online. But in this one that William James offers, you can check and see how far each recommender is on her or his recommendation. So you will see in a very user-friendly mode whether the person has started the recommendation, whether the person is working on the application, or whether the person has submitted it. So according to where they're at, you can nudge them again. There's a little button that says, to send them an email again, and the system will do that in your behalf, and if they haven't started, they will receive another email once you do that, and it will remind them that you're waiting for them to submit their recommendation. Unfortunately, I see that in many cases, that's one of the things that detains applications. And the other thing is the transcripts that detain application. Now, that's an element that comes to William James separately, okay? So I say to you, if you are or have attended a college that offers e-transcripts, I do highly recommend that you choose that option, okay? Because there's no mailing time and really is very efficient, all right? So that element arrives separately from the letters of recommendation and the essay. I'm jumping here the slide bullet points because I want to make sure that for those of you who are thinking of fall 2020, get everything in for us. So the application essay is uploaded into your application account, which is very easy. We ask for 4 to 6 pages, and we even give you all the elements that should be contained within the essay. Of course, you have freedom also to be creative and communicate other things that you think are pertinent to an application, but there are a number of things also that we'd like to know about you. So if you can fit those, and within 6 pages, you have ample time and space to do that. Now, I noticed that we possibly have some international students also in the audience. So we do ask for the TOEFL. And if you're unsure, if you have gone to school in the United States, et cetera, or English-speaking countries, feel free to reach out to admissions and we will discern that with you. Okay, GREs are not required for this program, which is pretty good news. However, it's not unusual that some applicants to this program do submit their GRE scores because they took them, and so that can help as well. So it's up to you whether you'd like to do that, and we welcome it. So applications are being considered, as I mentioned, in rolling admissions basis. I have 3 tips at this point for you. Tip number 1, if you go to, you may have seen it as well, to the admissions page at the William James College website, you will see in the left-hand side a menu. One of those items is called the Application Guidelines Brochure. It is a wonderful tool that our applicants have mentioned year after year that are very helpful for us to update every year because it helps you to really focus in each of the elements of the application and what we're looking for, okay? So the application guidelines brochure is something that comes in PDF. You can print it, you can save it into your hard drive, or you can go back to it, to the website every time, just to keep you in focus as to what we want out of each of the elements, what we expect to hear. And best of all, it's four pages, it's very short. The last page has a good numbers of questions and answers that students, applicants that is, have been asking us through the years. And one person's question is everybody's questions, I think. And so I invite you to save that, to take a look at the application guidelines brochure. Tip number 2, William James College very much protects your identity, protects your privacy. So to that, this means that I ask you to please keep your login and password when you open your application account. Obviously, like in any other software tool, you would be able to recover your password if you have forgotten it. But I mentioned this not only because you will go several times back to visit your application, see where it's at, to complete it, etc., but also when it's time for us to deploy decisions going your way from William James College to you for your eyes only, you will need your login and password also, because we want to make sure that it's you, the only person who sees it. We don't want to put it in an email, a regular email. Okay. Tip number 3, also on the admissions page on the website, in the left-hand side menu, you will see student ambassadors. This is a very valuable piece that I encourage people who are thinking about William James College to give a look. And the student ambassadors is a list of students, current students, and some alums who are interested in spreading the word about the profession, about this community, and share with you what it is like. And best of all, answer your questions. So you will open that page, you will select school psychology, and you will see the number of students with their profile, their photos, their email, where they came from before they joined William James, where they went to school, what languages they speak, et cetera, their passions as well. And you can contact them and ask them questions and learn from student to student what this community is like. And lastly, to this slide, in that blue box, you see that we are very responsive. There is an email that is staffed very frequently, Monday through Fridays from 9 to 5, info@williamjames.edu. We're here to help you. We love hearing from you. Let us move on to the next slide. And this is a very all-important financial aid that always questions come our way. And before I get started with those bullet points, I wanted to mention that William James does have grants and scholarships, and they come in 2 kinds of scholarships. There's one for which you do not need to apply. It's called the Merit Scholarships Awards. And every student who applies to William James and is admitted is in the running for that. And if you are nominated for a merit scholarship, it will be communicated in your letter of admissions. So essentially, there's nothing you have to do for that, okay? There's another one, however, that has an application. It's called Serving the Mental Health Needs of the Underserved. As Beth Rogan mentioned, this is the kind of school that very much takes seriously social responsibility. And our heart beats very much for people who historically have been underserved, historically have been marginalized. So we want to reward future students who have that as a goal of theirs as well. And so there is an application that has an essay also, and you will find more explanation about this scholarship that would give you 2/3 of your tuition, also should you be selected. And it lives, the definition that is of this in the application form under financial aid, which is also under the admissions page at williamjames.edu. Okay, you need to apply to this scholarship as you apply at the same time that you apply for admissions, okay? And you must do your FAFSA, also to do that. So you will see there, if you visit that, you will see what the requirements are. Very good. Now I can move on to what I wanted to tell you originally. So William James College participates in the Federal Work-Study Employment Plan. So some of you may have done that for undergraduate as well, and that can continue also, and you may be familiar already. So William James also participates in the unsubsidized federal Stafford loans and the federal Grad Plus loans. Now, for these 3 bullet points, you must have submitted your FAFSA that most of you may be familiar with. That's the free application for federal student aid. Now, William James College's code is G as in graduate 21636. There's no application that needs to be submitted like some other colleges require. Once you enter that code, our financial aid office, provided that you have submitted your FAFSA successfully, will get a ping and we will know that you have submitted this and we can look at it as well. Now, lastly, but never the last alternative, is the alternative loans. These are the so-called private student loans also that our financial aid office can help you with. And you see a name right at the bottom, Hillary_Baxter at William James EDU. She's the director of financial aid at William James. She will be more than happy to give you guidance in all of these items. And yeah, I look forward into seeing your application, especially those of you who are thinking of 2020. We stand by and let us move on. And I think we're within time for our favorite part of this webinar, which is your questions.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you so much. And this is wonderful. We do have extra time today to address questions. So please don't be shy. Put them in the question box. We want to make sure that you kind of go away today and feel like I've had sort of some clarification on the role of a school psychologist, the training, the application process, and we're here to help. And also sometimes what happens afterwards is questions come up and they arise as you think more about it, or you look at your notes or the PowerPoint, and we're certainly here and available to continue the conversation with you and provide information. So this question is for Dr. Thompson. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about, is there any work that school psychologists do outside of the school setting? And maybe is that something like, and also kind of how does that apply to licensure?
So there is work that we can do outside the school setting. And so I will, describe our role as dynamic and versatile. So we have opportunities to engage in policy development. And if you go to the NASP website, there's opportunities to participate in public policy, for instance, the Public Policy Institute, and you can engage in grassroots advocacy. You can also work in different settings, such as the court system as well. I use myself as an example because that's not an often unknown path that school psychologists, traditionally trained school psychologists, can take. So the other part of the question was, Beth, do you mind sharing the other part?
Sure. So after you go through your training with your CAGS, is there a licensure requirement? And then is there some private practice abilities or?
Oh, yes, of course. So after you receive your CAGS, so you have the opportunity to pursue, obtain your LAP, which is to become a licensed educational psychologist, and that will allow you to practice independently as a licensed educational psychologist. And so in order to do that, you will take the 2 tests in our program. And so taking those 2 tests, the MTEL and the Praxis, will facilitate your acquisition of the license. And so all of those things are stated in our handbook, and we kind of guide you along the way, and it's explicitly stated. And so there may be additional supervision following conferral of your master's in CAGS, but we'll guide you along the way as to how to take advantage of that opportunity should you so pursue that.
Oh, great. Thank you. I know there's interest on sort of from a professional standpoint, if you could, in fact, have your own private practice, because a lot of our, I know, clinicians and professors at William James kind of have their hands in a lot of different areas. So that's interesting too. Then there's a question around, so can you give a little bit of information around like classes, when you were on site for classes at William James, and when do you do your practicum, and how many days are you at William James, and what does that kind of schedule look like?
So for classes, if you're taking actual classes for the program at William James, so you're typically on campus, 3 or 4 days a week to take classes with us. And so Monday through Thursday, and that's typically the number of days per week faculty are on campus as well. But the hours, of course, will vary. So sometimes there's morning courses that are offered in the morning, courses offered in the afternoon or evening, and that's really to support your completion of field placement experiences at your school that you're assigned to, because you'll be at your school placement during the day, and so you'll take courses perhaps in the evening sometimes here.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So that is all of the questions we have formally right now. And again, we have a few more minutes, so anyone who wants to put more questions in the question box, please let us. Dr. Thompson, is there something you'd like to add to your wonderful slides and the discussion as we have a little bit more time today? And I'll ask Mario the same question in a minute.
Well, I guess I'll just state that I just love the field of school psychology. I love what I do, and I love mentoring students, graduate students. Working with graduate students makes me so happy. And I think that would be the only thing that I would add, is just my admiration for the field.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Mario, do you have anything you'd like to add right now before we move on to our next slides? Thank you.
Always, always. And I say with all sincerity to our audience today, if you're looking for a school, as Beth mentioned, that makes a difference, a school who very much checks the pulse of our world, not only our immediate community, but the world, what's going on in the world, which is a lot, as you would agree with me. And you can see a little bit of that by having heard Dr. Thompson mention about the special concentrations that we have. And that has been created for a while, okay? The newest one is the Asian mental health that nobody else has in this country of ours. But really, going back to what's going on in the world, what's going on in our community, William James very much takes seriously, and transmitting that to our students as well. And we make question of where we fit in all of this and how we're training in our space in the world as professionals in school psychology, professionals in clinical psychology, etc. And I want to assure you that even in sometimes there will be difficult conversations, but those are conversations that needed to be had. And that's what we're doing currently here at William James for many reasons of the things that are going on, not only related to COVID-19, but many other things. And so this is a kind of school very much attuned with not only the ear in certain things, but most things that are going on. So very current, very up to date. Thank you for the opportunity, Beth.
Right, and thank you. And I think one of the things that I feel and we hear a lot about is because William James College is a school of psychology and behavioral health, mental health, and that's what we do. And we're all housed in one building, and it's very intimate, but also so dynamic, and that because of the various departments we have, and all the specialists and the professors that we have that are all practitioner professors primarily, there's so much going on, and even within departments, so much is shared around expertise and support. And so we really have a lot to offer in terms of the fact that that's what we do. We don't have a math department. We don't have a, you know, this is what we do. And I think that's one of the things that does definitely set us apart. We walk in the building and this is the work that we do. And there's also so much around how to be a voice. There's a voice at William James College for those that don't have a voice in terms of behavioral health, mental health, barriers around that, and so many things that are happening within our culture. So I think we try to address those issues with the work that we're doing and equip students to be able to do that and be culturally competent as well. Okay, so I think we can go to the next slide, Mario. And that slide is one where you can certainly look to see who you can reach out to. And I really want to point out Dr. Thompson, and she'd be happy if you have any other questions moving forward around the program. And then our admissions office, info@williamjames.edu. They're so open and receptive and available, both Joe Lush and Elizabeth Beaton, as well as Mario Murga in our admissions department. So please feel free to reach out to them with any questions or thoughts, or just have a little bit of consultation and guidance. And then of course, Hillary Baxter and financial aid. And see if there's, yes. So this slide shows really all of our social media platforms, and sometimes it's really helpful to get a sense of what's happening with our constituency, who's our followers, our students, they have all the things going on. Feel free to follow us on social media, you know, tag us, like us, and be part of the conversation. We'd love for you to join us as well. And with that, any last words, anyone? Before we close?
No, that's all. It was a pleasure to do this.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Thompson. We really appreciate you coming today. And Mario as well. Please feel free, anyone, to reach out, and we're happy to continue the conversation with you. And thank you for joining us, and good luck in your journey for learning about the wonderful field of school psychology. Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye
Thank you,
now.
you too. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.